bad guy video game character will see gun and then decide to go somewhere else. And as you said, that is 100% not what happens. Just Google open carrier gets his gun taken away.
And watch the crazy surveillance videos of that. I saw the look on your face too there, Ed.
Yes, sir.
The gun, the knowledge of the gun is not the deterrent to crime. I'm going back many, many years to my very first class with Masad Ayub when he said, and I'll remember it to the day that I die, is that concealed carry provides your attacker the maximum opportunity to make a fatal error in the victim selection process. The reason that open carry does not deter crime is because if you're carrying your gun openly, people can create a plan to take your gun and will then attack you. And
what this shows me is that some people like you and me who carry guns every day and who have used guns for a long time understand that guns are tools that are used to do specific things. To some people, and it's difficult to get your head in this space, but to some people, it is literally a video game. Like you walk over the gun, so you pick it up, and then since you have a gun, you get to win this. They're seeing it as bad guy video game character will see gun and then decide to go somewhere else. And as you said, that is 100% not what happens. Just Google open carrier gets his gun taken away.
And watch the crazy surveillance videos of that. And the people who are afraid of guns, people who don't like open carry, they're afraid of guns. Criminals are not afraid of guns. Criminals are afraid of getting shot.
Right.
And if they don't know you have a gun, then they don't know whether or not they're going to get shot. If they know you have a gun, I'm going to sneak up behind you and whack you on the head and take your gun. And I've made that offer to people who told me that open carry was the most important thing. And I said, okay, you open carry at the expo, and if I can walk up behind you and tap you on the head, I get to keep your gun. Nobody took me up on the offer.
Right. And I'm going to get a little brutal here. I'm going to say, A, there's open carry, and then there's open carry. And B, most of the people I know who open carry, who don't live in like rural Utah, most of them do it out of laziness. So let's deal with the A first. There's open carry, and then there's open carry. My grandfather always open carried while hunting and fishing a .22 revolver for shooting porcupines because he loved his bird dogs, and when he saw a porcupine, he shot it. So there's the open carry of the person who's either in a semi-rural area, or even like when we're at a gun site, you go to the grocery store, you'll see some people wearing a pistol. That's open carry Mark 1, let's say. Then there's open carry where you're walking around with a slung rifle. Which a lot of people do as a political statement, which I think is a terrible idea. That's an entirely different topic for another time. But I'm going to get brutal in saying most of the open carry that I see is not a political statement or I'm going to deter crime. It's I don't like spending money and I don't like putting in effort, so I'm just going to buy the cheapest pancake holster I can find and walk around not concealing my gun.
Yeah, and throw it on and not conceal your gun. But I get back to the idea of the reason that we carry a gun at all is to defend ourselves from a deadly threat.
Right.
And people just think that I got my gun, the bad guy's coming after me, I'm going to shoot him and everything's going to be okay. Bad guys have been in way more fights than we have. Bad guys have faced down all kinds of other craziness. They're not afraid of the fact that you've got a gun in your holster. If you're not paying attention and they get the drop on you, bad guys know the rule all of us should know is that action defeats reaction. So if they can make a plan to take your gun, they will make a plan and they will take your gun. It happens, I'm not going to say all the time, but more often than it should. So yeah, it's not the sight of a gun that is the deterrence. It's what the gun can be used for that will deter crime. If a criminal's walking up to someone saying, I wonder if they have a gun or not, they're not making the plan to attack that person.
And I'm never going to be the guy that does videos laughing at people who get their guns taken away in public, because that's a lose-lose to me. I hate that happens.
Yeah,
I don't want that to happen.
Look, now a bad guy's got a gun.
Right, exactly. But it does seem that, most people who lose fights that they instigate had a plan for how they were going to win that fight, right? Like the guy walking around open carrying because that's going to deter crime. it's going to deter crime in the scenario that he put together in his head. He did not put together a scenario of somebody walking up behind him with a piece of concrete and hitting him in the ear as hard as they could and taking his gun away. It's not going to be like in A Christmas Story where it's people in black and white striped Hamburglar shirts with masks that he's going to be facing down. It's going to be a blind attack, and he's going to lose his gun. And when you talk about like how often does this happen, how often do you think it gets reported when it happens?
Right.
Who's going to want to call the cops and say some guy came up from behind me and pushed me over and I couldn't get up and he took my gun away?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be interested in knowing how many guns that get stolen out of cars were actually pulled off of open carriers.
Yeah.
I'd like to know that number.
And yeah, if there's no video evidence, nobody's going to tell the truth about how they lost their gun. Certainly, because it would be embarrassing. And you would have to then admit that your concept of open carry didn't work, and it didn't work to the point that you lost your gun. And not only is that bad, you've lost your gun because it's valuable and it's yours, but now a bad guy, like I said before, now a bad guy has a gun, and it's the kind of person who is willing to do anything, one, to get the gun, and then once he has the gun, and yes, it's almost always a guy, he has the gun, then he's willing to do anything with that gun to take anything that he wants or harm someone else. So it just doesn't work for me.
So as for the question, invented Google, why don't people carry their guns openly to prevent crime? As Kevin said, you prevent crime by having criminals not know who has a gun and who does not have a gun, not by walking around showing everyone, hey man, dig my gun.
The mere sight of the gun does not deter crime. The thought of what happens. Yeah. You had something going.
I did. No, I mean, what's the line from The Way of the Gun? There's always free cheese in the mousetrap. A lot of people will refuse to believe that a criminal seeing you wearing a gun will be taken as, hey, free gun, rather than, oh, I better not mess with that guy.
Yeah,
no, that's hey, free gun.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
especially since how many times, of all the people you've seen carrying openly, how many of them were wearing their guns in retention holsters?
Very few.
Very few to zero?
Yeah, and many had just terrible situational awareness. They thought the gun was a force field, a shield around them that's going to protect them.
This is one of those difficult adult conversations that a lot of people aren't capable of having. We already have, some people are livid and they are furious at you and me and they can't believe that we would be communists who hate guns as much as we do because we're saying anything negative about open carry.
Yeah.
But
we're going to get calls.
Don't make me write a letter. Yeah. But in the defense of people, when it comes to the terrible situational awareness, I don't care who you are. No one is capable of paying attention to everything all the time. Every now and then when I get a nitpicky letter at the magazine, I will reply, as sir, madam, thank you for reading. As I so often lament, I can't write everything about everything and everything that I write about everything. I know I didn't include Charter revolvers in this feature about Ruger revolvers. I can't write everything about everything and everything that I write about everything. You can't pay attention to everything all the time.
And it only takes the one time, and it's 10 seconds, and your head is bleeding, and your gun is gone, and you can't figure out what happened.
Now, something ending with your head bleeding and you're laying down can happen whoever you are, wherever you are on this planet. I don't see why you should do anything that would up your chances of an interaction ending that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Good talk, Ed.
Good talk, Kevin.
Now, before you go, if you think you're using the right caliber for self-defense, think again. And you might not even know it, but your ammo could be putting you at severe disadvantage when you pull the trigger. Click the link in the description below to watch this short, unbiased video comparing the top 4 self-defense calibers and see if you end up changing handguns.